The Americans now admit that in their initial account they overstated the resistance in the compound. Bin Laden didn't fire a weapon or use his wife as a human shield. Some people reacted angrily, amongst them the Islamic parties in Pakistan itself. What's your reaction to the US raid and the killing of Osama bin Laden here in Pakistan?
Shock, grief, outrage. An unarmed person was killed. The United States has violated our sovereignty with impunity, with arrogance, disregard of international law.
This ain't a video game. You can't hit stop. So in years to come, you may look back and say, was the operation executed perfectly? And I'd say, looks good enough to me. I would not expect those kids who went in there, the Navy SEALs, to have done better. This is brilliant.
President Obama doesn't want to appear triumphant and risk inciting Muslims sympathetic to bin Laden. He made a trip to Ground Zero, however, after the raid, to honor bin Laden's victims and to meet their relatives. Among them, Jackie Eaton, who lost her British husband Robert in the North Tower at the World Trade Center. Nearly 10 years on, she has mixed feelings about bin Laden's death.
Our world is still not what it was, will never be, in my opinion. And it gives you a little bit of satisfaction to know that he is gone and he got his, but it's of little consolation, I think, to a lot of people who have lost loved ones. I still feel like he's spread his poison enough in this world now that our war on terror and our fight continues.
Since 9/11, the so-called war on terror has been at its fiercest in Pakistan. It's the heartland of Islamic extremists fighting the West and inflicting terror on Pakistan itself. 2 years ago, I was with the Pakistani army as they fought Al-Qaeda and local militants in the tribal areas. But it's a complicated story. Pakistan's intelligence service, the ISI, is accused of secretly supporting some of these groups to extend its influence in the region. Pakistanis, however, who've been at the heart of the search for bin Laden since 9/11, say they can be trusted. After all, they've arrested 5 of the top 10 Al-Qaeda figures caught so far.
9/11 was a tragic incident, and the people who did it, Pakistan has been helping the Americans to get hold of them. And I personally feel that, as far as I know, there has been no double game during my time. And the people from CIA, they would, I think, acknowledge it, that there had been no double game.
There's not only a problem with commitment to this fight, there's a problem with information sometimes going out the back door. That is, you provide information and a raid doesn't work because somebody's tipped off. But trust is not really the issue. We have no option. This is where Al-Qaeda operates. We've got to be there, and if we're going to be there, we better be there with the people who own the turf.
The fact that bin Laden was able to hide for so long in a Pakistani town with military connections has raised US suspicions he had to have some kind of local support network. For America, it justifies their lack of trust, their decision to keep Pakistan's government out of the loop. The Pakistani authorities have big questions to answer. Did their intelligence services know that bin Laden was here? And if not, why not? As the director of the CIA has said, either they're involved or they're incompetent.
I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people in the Pakistani army or ISI knew. I think there probably are people who knew where he was, and a great many more people who regarded him as a hero.
But Pakistan denies any official support, saying they've suffered more than anyone from Al-Qaeda.
Osama has never been a friendly man to Pakistan. And you know, we have this problem, and 32,000 people have died. And we know that the Taliban, Pakistani Taliban, they were supported by Al-Qaeda, and they've been targeting Pakistani cities, Pakistani army installation. So why, what could have been the real motive to keep him?
This whole thing's been a terrible embarrassment, hasn't it, for the ISI?
Yes, I think it is a terrible embarrassment, personally, for me, and the things we had done, and, you know, one incident, and everything is gone. But you should not degrade a nation, an emotional nation, you know, who are most of them anti-American.
But the ISI's pleas are falling on deaf ears. Some American politicians are calling for a radical rethink of the US relationship with Pakistan after bin Laden was discovered there.
They have been lying to us over the years, and if the radical Islamicists to which the Pakistani government and the Pakistani military is allied are so important to them that they're willing to hide someone who's slaughtered 3,000 Americans, well, let them deal with their own problems from now on. They aren't our friend. We shouldn't treat them as a friend.
Over $2 billion worth of military and civil aid is now at stake. That's what America gives Pakistan each year to prevent the world's only Islamic nuclear state from collapsing. And this year, Britain doubled its aid to £350 million a year. Almost half will be spent helping some of the 17 million children who cannot afford to go to school. Kids like Asif and Faisal. Their father earns just £1 a day as a labourer.
School में सही तरह पढ़ाई दे रहे हैं टीचर सही स्कूल में दिल भी लग रहा है तो
The boys have just been able to start school thanks to vouchers paid for by the British taxpayer. It's aimed at winning hearts and minds for the future.
I think this is the only factor which we can answer against terrorism. Education, education, education. It is a matter of life and death in Pakistan.
The lives of millions of poor Pakistanis could be affected because of what happened in Abbottabad.
We should cut off all of our aid to Pakistan. They have thumbed their nose at us and lied to us and aided those people who wanted to murder our people for 2 decades now. Now's the time, with the death of Osama bin Laden, to change our strategic relationship and quit acting like fools.
The Pakistanis quickly removed the debris from the compound. The crashed helicopter, which the Americans blew up when they left. The Pakistani Prime Minister says the American allegations are absurd, but promises a full investigation. Pakistan is now under immense scrutiny. They have to prove their commitment to the war on terror. If Osama bin Laden was able to live here in plain sight for such a long time, the question must be, who else is in Pakistan? What about Mullah Omar, the leader of the Taliban, whose men have killed so many British soldiers? Now America will expect Pakistan to deliver up the remaining top militant fugitives. President Obama is piling on the diplomatic pressure. In the raid, the Americans took away a treasure trove of material: mobile phones, computer hard drives, and memory sticks. The US claim this new information shows bin Laden's been actively involved in planning terrorist operations. But it could also enable the Americans to pin down and go after the leader of the Afghan Taliban. And bin Laden's number 2, Ayman al-Zawahiri, who's likely to become Al-Qaeda's new leader.
He's been there now for 8 or 9 years. He's up on the airwaves more with video than bin Laden is, and with radio interviews. That suggests to me that he's out more, that people might see him more. I think there should be a lot of questions as we continue a partnership with the Pakistanis about what they know about the 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th in command.
It's time for them to be afraid of us, okay? You are the terrorists. You are the people killing innocent people. So what you need to be afraid of is that next knock on the door might not be room service.
The Americans flew Osama bin Laden's body to an aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea. It was washed and placed in a white sheet in accordance with Muslim practice. Then it was put into a weighted bag and lowered into the ocean. The Americans decided not to release any pictures because they could be inflammatory.
He has become a victim, a martyr.
A martyr?
Yeah. And the way they have tried to dispose of the body is against Islamic traditions, is against our religion, and I think it's against human rights.
Across Pakistan, so far, the protests against the American raid have been smaller than expected. But religious parties warn that Osama bin Laden's death won't stop militancy in Pakistan.
Now, the killing of bin Laden, will it stop his appeal? Is that the end of militancy?
Not at all. That is the mistake, you see. It has never happened in history. Terrorism is the result of certain injustices, certain violations of human rights, certain political problems.
America hopes bin Laden's death will mark a turning point, the end of his reign of terror. But Al-Qaeda will try to use his killing to keep the movement alive and inspire more attacks.
Al-Qaeda's message is dying, and it has been for some years, mostly because they've killed too many innocent Muslims. This will accelerate the death of the message, but it will not mean the end of the messengers who already believe.
Back at the infamous compound, bin Laden's neighbors are trying to get on with their lives. Al-Qaeda has confirmed their leader is dead, but has warned the killing is a curse which will haunt America. There is talk the Pakistani army will blow up this compound, removing a monument that has become a national embarrassment. But it will be harder to destroy Osama bin Laden's malign legacy.